What's up, everybody? Welcome back. And today we're going to talk about programming and pretty much a kind of a way to start. A way, not the way, not all the ways, just a way you can start. But first, a little word from our sponsor.
T-shirts.
Roger, let's dive a little bit deeper into, this 151 thought process of programming and what that kind of means. Let's start with one.
Okay. One really is a single. We get a lot of questions about programming. What's the right way to lift? What are the right number of reps you should do? Should I do this program, that program? All of these things are great. We've seen a lot of really solid programs, but a lot of people are getting ahead of themselves. We like to start with singles because singles are going to allow you to be proficient in technique. They're going to allow you to build strength. It is the foundation of kettlebell training. So rather than going and following a very heavy, light, medium, advanced strategy, I like working with a single. We've talked a lot about this idea of minimum effective dose.
Yeah.
So what is the smallest amount of something that you can do to get big results? And what tends to happen when you work with singles, you get natural attributes that just come up.
Yeah.
And they may be different. But when I work with my kettlebell singles, I get bigger and I get stronger.
Yeah.
My endurance does not really improve. So if I want to have, if I've got an endurance-based goal, then I will address that later in my program.
Yeah.
But for the beginning, I will just go through singles. I'll get my technique down. Usually, I work with right around 10 singles for a workout when I can do 10. Nothing magic about that number, but when I can do 10, I'll go through and I'll move into my next phase. But the one really is just focusing on that one rep, working on your technique. A lot of the other things will come and, from doing those singles and going through the other steps, and by the time you go through those, you're going to be ready for a program. That's what it's really all about. This is just the basic building block. The simplest piece that will make a difference is the single.
Yeah, and I agree. And I can attest that, like, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced, you can get benefits from just that mentality of just having that single focus, especially in the area of strength, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
That's very good. Hey, give me 5. So what about 5? What does this 5 mean? What are we going with that?
The five again. This is arbitrary, but it's the ladder, and I do like 5s for my ladders. When you do your 1 to 5, a 1 to 5 ladder on each side, you end up with 30. You do 3 ladders, you got 90 reps, which is a solid number. But the 5 just represents the ladder. So once you've done your single, you can move into a phase where you're doing higher volume.
Mm-hmm.
But the great thing about the ladder, if you guys don't know about ladders, it really is just a way to sequentially build volume without a crazy amount of intensity and a crazy amount of fatigue. So with a 1 to 5 ladder, I'll do 1 rep each side, put the bell down, shake it out, rest a little bit. I'll evaluate, how is my form? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? Often I'll take some video. Then I'll go through and I'll get my next rung, which will be a 2+2.
Yes.
So now I'm starting to build that volume. Okay, that feels a little better. I made an adjustment. What else can I do? Shake it out, rest, 3+3, etc. So 1 to 5 is just where I like my ladders. There are a lot of ways you can do it. You can go higher. You can go ascending, so you can go 1 to 5 and then be done. You can go 1 to 5 and then back down to 5 to 1. You can do, especially with ballistics, it's fun to do ladders by multiples of 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do a 15, 25, 35. Which that can get pretty intense.
Sounds fun.
But you can play with the numbers. So there's nothing really magical about the numbers that you use. But ladder training is a way to sneak in the volume without getting a lot of soreness and fatigue,
Right.
and making making really good progress. Once you can start linking multiple moves together. Obviously, if you can't do singles at a particular weight, or if you can only do 10 singles, it's going to be hard to do
So
a 1 to 5
15.
Exactly. Yeah. But if you're doing a 1 to 3, you're right in that ballpark, and now you're starting to do them closer together.
Yeah, totally.
But you have the capacity to do that.
Yeah, and so that's kind of like what I go through if I'm changing like my snatches. I was working with 36 kilo, and so I was like, 1 to 3 was where I was at. And so I was like, hey, I definitely can't do all of them that way, and just keep the form that I want to avoid injury. So that's good. And then finally, 1 again. What the hell? So what's this other one?
one is really, I like to think of it as a minute, but really generically it's a unit of time.
Right.
And a unit of time, so once you've gone through your single and you're proficient at that, and now you've gone through your ladders, so you're starting to string a bunch of reps together, and you can do, let's say, 3 1 to 5 ladders, so you've really got 90 reps in the bag, which is solid work. Now I can start thinking about density. Okay, so the first one's about proficiency, then we're getting some volume, then we're getting density, which is really just crushing a lot of work into a small space. Now, that's not the only way to use time, but that's a way to use time. So you can do endurance, so
5 minutes of snatches or something, rest however you want.
So you can do 5 minutes can be your time, and you can go timeless. So basically, I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes, the only thing I can do. I'm going to do an EMOM, 5 minutes for my snatches. So I'll start with 5 plus 5, every minute on the minute for 5 minutes, and then I'll build up. I'm going to go right to 7 plus 7, 8 plus 8, build up, especially if you're working on a snatch test, 105 minutes. You can use it as your rest, so I'm going to do X amount of reps. Today I did, I did double 40s, which is a good amount of weight for me, but I did 3 reps every minute on the minute. I think I did 5 rounds, so it was only 50.
Double 40 snatches?
But it's a fair, it's a lot of my body weight relative to my size. So, it didn't crush me, but it also challenged me. So I use that as a way to pace my practice and guide myself. So time is the one in the 1-5-1 method. So, are you doing every minute on the minute where you're building endurance? You can also use the time to pace your practice and see where you are. So I did a minute of snatches, and I want to make sure that I can at least get 30 in the minute. It gives me about 2 seconds per snatch, and that's my pace. I want to not lose power and see where I am.
Yeah.
So I set my timer for a minute. Can I do it? Yes or no? If I'm down, let's say I'm training and I'm down to 25, something's going wrong. Something's going on.
Power might be gone or something.
Whatever. Maybe I need
to rest a little more, call it or whatever.
Recovery. Maybe I need to switch modes. Or conversely, if I'm like 32, 34, then I know I'm just flying.
Yeah.
Now it's time to maybe get another bell. So the one in the equation is the amount of work I'm doing relative to the time period. And you can manipulate time. It doesn't need to be EMOMs. It doesn't need to be timeless. You can multiply it or use it in a lot of different ways.
I love that we can manipulate time. I feel like Dr. Strange when I do that. So basically, 1-5-1, simply put, is a nice way to refer to the proficiency with the single, the volume with the 5, and the density with the other single. So 1-5-1. And let that be a good basis for how you can start, a place to start, and you can get more advanced. And certainly we, can offer our opinion on that as well in our coaching and tutelage. So if anything, just stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. Wait, I don't know how these kids are doing it these days, but they get it, they nail it every time. Or just follow us on all the social media platforms that we're on. And anything else about our programming?
No, I think we're good.
All right, again, that's programming brought to you by
T-shirts.
Stay strong.